You know who might be pulling the levers, Gonz?
Could it be Flippy?
It's Flippy.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, if you're new to the show, Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world, and just how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, this story is coming from BostonGlobe.com, and the headline, How the Boston Dynamics Robot Spot Became One Artist's Muse, then her assistant. And it goes like this. Maybe you've seen Boston Dynamics Robot Spot dance, climb stairs, and screen hospital patients for COVID-19. Now, with one human's help, a bright, yellow, dog-like robot created by the Waltham Company is an artist, too. Agnieszka Pilat, the guest artist in residence at robotics company Boston Dynamics, has been painting portraits of Spot and the company's other advanced robots since the fall of 2020. Good gig for an artist here. You get to go just paint robots all day at Boston Dynamics, and she got this job right in the middle of the pandemic.
All you got to say is, hey, I want to turn my art into NFTs, and they'll go, oh, you're hired.
Oh, we'll get there. But for a number of paintings, as well as an upcoming NFT project, she has enlisted Spot. She's enlisted Spot as a co-artist of sorts. Pilat places an oil stick in its paws, as she calls it, and uses a control panel to manually guide the dexterous machine around the canvas. The manual process is partly because she believes the design and the authorship should stay with me. Ooh. Oh, the classic human hubris, wanting to take credit for the robot's art. But she also loves the crude style that emerges from the machine's inexpert brushstrokes. Quote, the robot is definitely my protege, said Pilat, 48, who splits her time between New York and San Francisco. This might sound like a sci-fi plot, but to Pilat, depicting a robot in her art is no different than Warhol screen printing Marilyn Monroe. Quote, portraiture reflects the power in society, said Pilat, because today more and more of the power is with technology. To be a really meaningful portrait painter, I thought, I have to paint portraits of machines. And we have a wonderful insight. It sounds like Pilat understands the same things we understand here, Gonz. And she makes a good point, because through the history of art, painting a portrait was, it's different now, but the history of art is if you were getting a portrait painted of you, it meant you were really important. You were, in some sort of social standing that made you worth painting, or you had the money to get a portrait painted of you. Either case is really a status symbol. And this phrase of hers, portraiture reflects the power in society. And this is why she decided, well, looks like machines have the power, so I'm just going to make portraits of machines. Pilat, who is trained as a classical painter at the Academy of Art of University in San Francisco, isn't employed by Boston Dynamics. She simply asked the historically secretive company if she could come in and use the robots for artistic inspiration. Boston Dynamics agreed, and later she was given a studio space.
Basil.
Yes.
Basil.
Yeah.
This is how you get in.
You're getting it. You're understanding.
You need to tell these robotics companies that you have an art project.
I have an art project. I am here. I need access.
You need access to express.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'm sure Boston Dynamics got some sort of ownership in these paintings, but so I need a product that they can take ownership of. Let's see here. I need to go down. Okay. Her bright color palette and graceful depictions convey compassion for her subject, sentient or not. Pilat said she feels a protective instinct toward newfangled technology, such as robot, which some people fear. Quote, I kind of want to be the defender of it, she said, adding that machines, quote, make our life so much easier. She calls the paintings of Spot and the other robots her heroic portraits. heroic portraits of the robots that she loves, Gonzo.
I'm
You know,
for the robots.
Yeah, exactly. You harken back to some of famous portraits of the past. I'm thinking of like the famous portrait of Napoleon on his horse.
Yes.
Very heroic, very grand. That's kind of the idea she's trying to come across with these robots. Quote, "As humans, every time we want to do something heroic, we build a machine," she said, pointing to the Wright brothers' airplane as an example. "This isn't the first time technology has served Pilat's inspiration." Blah, blah, blah. Talks about a different project that she worked on. Let me skip down.
She's got
again.
her website on the side of Spot here. PilotArt.com, right next to the Boston Dynamics thing there. It's good marketing for them.
No, she is totally in. And you can see some of these portraits, those who are viewing, and they're very interesting. I mean, they're very pleasant to look at. They've got kind of an abstract feel, sort of a modern feel, but one of them has two flippy arms, like reaching towards one another, similar to the Adam. What is it called? The one with God and Adam sort of reaching towards one another.
Right.
It goes into
there's like circuit board style.
Yeah,
art.
A lot of circuit board stuff. Jason Fiorillo, the chief legal officer for Boston Dynamics, who helped provide Pilat with access to the company, said he is touched by Pilat's portrayals. Ooh. He opened the door to her because he figured that, quote, "if we can see our technologies through her eyes, the world would benefit," he said. Today, he said, large format versions of Pilat's work hang in the halls of Boston Dynamics. Quote, "She likes to paint robots as heroes," he said. "That's actually the way we see our robots as well." No kidding. And some other details here. One of the portraits, a self-portrait by Spot, got 30 grand at a Sotheby's auction. So there's real economics in this. And remember, when it comes to economics, that's the definitive sort of real making measurement when it comes to the world. If it makes money,
the metric to measure value in the real world.
Yeah, and not even value. It's like existence. It's realness. It's importance again.
Well, perceived value. Whoever pays 30 grand for a painting by a robot.
Yeah, I mean, in value, I'm thinking value more in like the existential sense.
Right. Okay.
The value of it belonging to, its existence is justified when you put big numbers on it. The robot has also been involved in crafting basic imitations of famous work. Meow, meow, meow. That's my new thing, by the way. I'm trying to, instead of blah, 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 because every time we say blah, 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 somebody thinks we're doing like 666. Or
seriously? Or we're doing Greta?
I see it pretty on the regular, yeah. Because Greta had her blah, 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 connects with Build Back Better.
Yeah, come on.
We have some people who are making connections.
I'm saying, how are you going to let the most recent version of something like blah, blah, blah take over the symbolism?
Gonz, don't argue. We're just saying meow, meow, meow now. Okay, hold on. We're almost done here. Her next big project, which she plans to debut this spring, is a collection of NFTs, or non-fungible tokens. The NFT that patrons buy will be purely encrypted data, presented as a string of numbers collected by Spot from its movement while it paints. In addition to the digital asset, buyers will also get a number of Spot originals. The physical paintings will all be the same design. In the spirit of Warhol, they are going to be identical, but not quite, Pilat said. The paradox of the machine is that it's, quote, supposed to be repetitive and standardized, but it's not really, she said. Quote, "I think that's what makes the machine a little more human." Dun, dun, dun. And with that, Pilat, I think, is taking her place in sort of the Hall of Fame of useful propagandistic tools for the technocracy, the technocrats, having an emissary in the artistic space. And again, it's all around the heroicism of robots. We love to track the trend here on the Flippy Update of the social engineering that goes into the acceptance of robots, not just in society, but into the human heart. And we have here an example of that, making robots heroes in portraits, and the change of perception from a machine being something doing a repetitive task to something that has a unique fingerprint. It's never the same. Should be repetitive and standardized, but it's not really. I think that's what makes the machine a little more human. And thank you, Boston Dynamics and Pilat, for doing your good work to try to convince the rest of the humans that we should think of robots not as tools, not as machines, but as something not so different from us.
Well, I would argue, let me point out, not argue, but let me just point out that art this is partly why we do the art, and, thank the producers and encourage producers to do art and sound and audio and jingles and all kinds of stuff, is because it creates a bridge for something that otherwise wouldn't necessarily have mainstream access or messaging. And I think about CERN. Remember, they had a big old art project. They had big productions with, if it's not art, it's, some kind of ritual type thing. There's all kinds of stuff associated with the arts in general, high fashion. And I think this is similar here. This is more like allowing the machine to have a vehicle, a bridge for humans to relate. And art is sort of the best way to do it because it's expression, and if you're able to assign the ability of expression to a machine, then your psychology, for the masses, the psychology for robots will also change, because ultimately what they're trying to do is get humans and robots to more or less mate to become
blend
one.
The merging of man and machine. And it's much easier to convince somebody to merge their mind with a computer or merge their body with a robot in one way or another, if you consider robots to be somewhat human,
right?
Or at least to be not so far away from humanity as they are.
Right.
And there you go. I think
actually,
this is a big step towards that.
I think it might be in the additional stories segment of or section of the show notes. Maybe I didn't put it in there, but basically there was a robot story about how, here it is, Popular Science. Basically somebody did a study about looking at how humans mirror the movements of robots and how that affects us and how we are influenced, like humans. And you can see this a lot in actually dance, like robot style dance, since robots became more culturally visible in movies and TV shows, and the dance moves have also evolved, and they look even better now. They look like real robots, when they do the robot moves. And it's all influenced from the machine itself. And there's music that does that too. So
right. And it goes into the conversation that we've been having for a couple episodes now in regards to human beings sort of, a lot of times acting and feeling simply how they are expected or told to, And so on one hand, you have humans programming, creating robots. On the other hand, you have humans emulating what they see in robots. It's really becoming more of a back and forth rather than one being the product of another. And that is sort of the perfect representation, or one of the manifestations of this, the social ideation that robots and humans are not so different.
Yeah.
It just keeps on going. Man, we've really gotten very philosophical in the Flippy updates this past year.
Well, I mean, it's because it's...
When you talk about it 3 days a week, things really start to sink in.
Yeah. It's like the child that keeps asking why.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps going
All right.
deeper.
Well, let's keep moving.